She thought the mountains would hide her pain. She thought loneliness would protect her heart. But in a forgotten cabin buried deep in snow, she found a man whose past was darker than the winter nights. And whose love would change her life forever. If you enjoy the emotional life-changing stories, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel before the story continues. Emily Carter stood at the edge of the mountain road, staring at the narrow path leading to the cabin. Snow covered the ground like a white blanket, silent and cold. Her breath came out in soft clouds as she tightened her coat around herself. This was it. The end of one life, and maybe the beginning of another. Just a month ago, Emily had been living in the city, planning her wedding, imagining a future that felt safe and familiar. Then everything collapsed. Her fiancé left without explanation. Friends slowly disappeared. Even her family told her to be strong and move on, as if heartbreak were that simple. The city became unbearable. Too loud, too crowded, too full of memories. So when she found an online listing for an abandoned mountain cabin, she didn't hesitate. No neighbors. No noise. No expectations. Only silence. The cabin was older than she expected. Wooden walls worn by time, a small porch, and a single window facing the endless forest. Pine trees surrounded it like quiet guards. Inside, the air smelled of wood and dust. There was a fireplace, a narrow bed, and a table carved with old scratches, signs that someone had once lived here, long ago. That first night, the wind howled through the mountains, but Emily slept deeply. For the first time in weeks, she didn't cry herself to sleep. The next morning, as she stepped outside, she froze. A man stood a few steps away, carrying firewood on his shoulder. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a thick beard and tired eyes. His clothes looked rough, practical, made for survival, not style. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said. Calmly. "I saw smoke from the chimney." Emily's heart pounded, but something about his voice felt steady. "I'm Ethan," he added. "I live a few miles from here." She hesitated, then introduced herself. "You're staying here alone?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "I needed a place, away." Ethan nodded, as if he understood more than she said. "Winters here are brutal," he warned. "If you need help, I can check on you." She should have said no. But instead, she said, "Thank you." Over the following days, Ethan returned often. He brought firewood, showed her how to seal the windows, and taught her how to keep the fire alive through freezing nights. He never asked too many questions. He never pushed. Emily found comfort in his quiet presence. She cooked meals and shared them with him. They ate mostly in silence, but it was the kind of silence that didn't feel empty. One evening, as snow fell softly outside, Emily finally asked, "Why do you live out here, alone?" Ethan stared into the fire. "Because the city holds memories I don't want to remember." That was all he said. And somehow, it was enough. Weeks passed. Emily's hands grew stronger from chopping wood. Her heart felt lighter. She laughed again, something she hadn't done in months. Ethan noticed. "You're different," he said one morning. "Stronger." "So are you," she replied. He smiled faintly. One night, Emily fell ill with a fever. Ethan stayed by her side, feeding the fire, bringing water, checking on her through the night. As she drifted in and out of sleep, she realized something terrifying. She trusted him. She cared for him. And maybe, she was falling in love. The mountains no longer felt lonely. They felt safe. Emily began to imagine a future she hadn't planned, one without cities, without noise, without broken promises. But happiness, she would soon learn, never comes without shadows. One afternoon, while cleaning behind the cabin, Emily noticed a loose wooden panel. Behind it, she found an old box. Covered in dust. Inside were photographs. A younger Ethan. A smiling woman. A little girl with bright eyes. And a folded letter. Her hands trembled as she read. Each word felt heavier than the last. By the time she finished, tears streamed down her face. The man she was falling in love with was hiding a truth that could destroy everything. Emily sat alone that night, staring into the fire. Could she love someone with a past so painful? Could she trust a man who never told her the whole truth? Outside, the wind howled louder than ever. And for the first time since arriving, the cabin felt cold again. Some secrets are buried for a reason. But when they surface, they change lives forever. Backhand index pointing right. If you want to know what Ethan is hiding and what choice Emily will make, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't miss part 2. She thought she had finally escaped pain. But the truth she uncovered in that lonely mountain cabin was more powerful than any storm. What he did next would prove that real love is not about a perfect past, but about the courage to face it. Backhand index pointing right. Before we continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional, life-changing stories. Emily didn't sleep that night. The fire burned low as she sat on the floor, the photographs spread out in front of her. Ethan's younger face smiled from the pictures, his arm wrapped around a woman whose eyes were full of warmth. And then there was the little girl, her laughter frozen in time. Emily closed her eyes. She finally understood the sadness in Ethan's silence. And the reason he kept the world at a distance. But understanding didn't make the pain easier. Everything. The letter was written in Ethan's handwriting. It told the story he never dared to speak aloud. Years ago, during a brutal winter storm, Ethan had insisted on driving his wife and 5-year-old daughter out of the city despite dangerous weather warnings. He was tired, stressed, and overconfident. The roads were icy. The car slipped. His daughter didn't survive the accident. Emily's chest tightened as she read the final lines. I live every day knowing my decision took her life. I don't deserve forgiveness. The mountains are my punishment. Tears fell onto the paper. Emily folded the letter carefully and placed it back in the box. The next evening, Ethan returned to the cabin carrying firewood. One look at Emily's face told him everything. You found it, he said quietly. Emily nodded. Why didn't you tell me? Ethan set the wood down slowly. His hands shook. Because the moment I say it out loud, he whispered, it becomes real again. And I couldn't lose you too. Emily felt anger and sorrow collide inside her. You let me trust you, she said. You let me fall for you, without knowing who you really are. I am who you see now, Ethan replied. A man trying to survive his mistakes. Silence filled the cabin. I help you because saving you feels like saving her, he finally admitted. And maybe, forgiving myself. That night, Emily made a decision she never thought she would. She packed her bag. Love alone wasn't enough, not when the weight of his past pressed so heavily on her heart. She needed space. Time. Clarity. In the morning, she stood at the door. Ethan didn't stop her. I won't ask you to stay, he said softly. You deserve peace. Emily's eyes filled with tears. So do you. She turned and walked into the snow. The mountains changed without warning. The sky darkened. Wind howled through the trees. Snow fell thick and fast, blinding her path. Emily slipped. Pain shot through her ankle as she collapsed into the freezing ground. Her voice was lost in the storm. Back at the cabin, Ethan sensed something was wrong. He ran. Ignoring the freezing wind, ignoring the pain in his leg from an old injury, Ethan followed her footprints into the storm. When he found her unconscious, buried in snow, fear tore through him. No, he cried. Not again. He lifted her into his arms and carried her through the storm, every step a battle against the past he refused to repeat. Back in the cabin, Ethan worked desperately. He lit the fire, wrapped her in blankets, and stayed awake through the night, whispering apologies she couldn't hear. For the first time in years, he prayed. When morning came, Emily stirred. Ethan collapsed to the floor. His body finally gave in. Emily woke to silence. Ethan lay unconscious beside the fire. Terrified, she used the emergency radio to call for help. Hours later, rescue workers arrived, carrying Ethan away on a stretcher. At the small mountain clinic, Emily waited, shaking. The doctor finally emerged. "He'll survive," he said. "But he needs rest and a reason to keep going." Emily understood. She walked into Ethan's room and held his hand. "You saved me," she whispered. "This time, you didn't run." Tears slid down Ethan's face as he woke. "I couldn't lose you," he said. "I couldn't live with that again." Emily stayed. Not because she forgot the past, but because she saw his courage to face it. "You made a terrible mistake," she said gently. "But you're not a terrible man." For the first time in years, Ethan allowed himself to cry. Months passed. The cabin changed. Laughter replaced silence. The forest echoed with life again. Emily began teaching children from nearby villages. Ethan repaired homes, built furniture, and slowly became part of a community again. The mountains were no longer a prison. They were home. One evening, as the sun set behind the peaks, Ethan took Emily's hand. "You didn't just save my life," he said. "You gave it back to me." Emily smiled. "You did the same for me." Sometimes, love doesn't erase pain. It teaches us how to live with it and grow stronger. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope today.